For the past 5 years, Janja Garnbret has been a force of nature on the competition climbing scene. With 15 lead gold medals and 4 combined titles to her name, there's been no question as to who the greatest climber on the IFSC circuit is, and it was starting to look as if Janja may never be beat until a 19-year-old named Rogora showed up one day in Briançon, topped out in the finals, and put the finishing touches on what has already been an incredible year. Suddenly, Janja has some competition, and with the Tokyo 2021 Olympics on the horizon, these two titans of the female climbing world are set to meet on the biggest stage that the sport has ever seen. Hey guys, it's Marcus from Ascensionism, and today I'm going to be looking at the lead climbing techniques of Janja Garnbret and Rogora to see which of them has the better shot of claiming first place in Tokyo for this discipline. Now, just before we start, I want to say off the bat that I think Janja will definitely be the one to take gold in Tokyo because she just has much more experience in the combined formatting, while Lara is still adjusting to the world of competition climbing. In the same way, Lara clearly has the upper hand in outdoor lead climbing, where she's tagged 2 5:15 routes, including a 5:15B. Given a few years, I could easily see Lara rounding out her speed and bouldering game, just the way as I could see Janja putting up some really impressive ascents outdoors, but neither of them are really there yet. So for this video, I'm just going to focus on their indoor competition lead climbing abilities, because this is where I think the two of them are most similar. First, let's look at the individual climbing techniques of each of them. Janja has made a name for herself as an insanely explosive, ridiculously powerful climber. Her finger strength, dynamic ability, and coordination are paralleled only by the likes of someone like Tomoe Narasaki. She loves big, powerful moves, and she's never afraid to cut her feet loose, which has led to the coining of the famed Janja swing. She tones it down a bit on the lead wall, but the base of her climbing stays the same. Janja likes to move powerfully, swinging up to a hold and then landing hard on it, trusting her finger strength to compensate for the momentum. Sometimes this dynamism and faith in her own strength can be her downfall. This was the case in the Xiamen World Cup, where you can see her go dynamically for the top, fumble it, and fall. This mistake costs her the gold medal and the overall season's world title. You can see the winner, Chaeyoung, sticking the move with a pretty simple heel hook. Most of the time though, Janja is strong enough to power her way through sequences, and she has the ability to be technical when she needs to. Her footwork is good, and she rarely makes route reading errors. Rogora is maybe the polar opposite of Janja when she climbs. Instead of the powerful swinging movements made by the Slovenian, Lara likes to pick her way up methodically through the lead route. This is partially due to her style, but it's also due to the fact that she's still adjusting to competition climbing. She doesn't always look super comfortable on the holds, and her beta reads sometimes cost her. With that being said though, she also has moments of brilliance where she'll read a sequence perfectly and save herself a lot of energy by flowing through it. Lara has some of the best hip flexibility of any climber on the scene, which is saying something in a field filled with insanely flexible women. She loves high feet, and she often uses heel hooks to lock herself in place and avoid any swinging. This is a stark contrast to Janja, who rarely makes it through a lead route without cutting her feet once or twice. Aside from that, Lara's endurance is something that makes her stand out from the crowd. This speaks to her roots as a traditional outdoor climber, where she's proven just how good she is with some insane ascents like Pure Dreaming 15A and Ali Hulk Sit Extension 515B. This endurance helps Lara be methodical, figure out the right beta, and move conservatively through sequences. It was on full display in the Briançon semifinals, where she took her time moving through this crux sequence and even managed to rest on this one hold that had spat off about 5 other climbers before her, including Janja herself. However, this slow methodical style can also hurt Lara when it comes to the competition routes, especially in the lead format. If 2 climbers in a combined competition reach the same height on the wall, their placements are determined by who climbs faster, so moving slowly can actually work against you. You kind of saw this come into play in the Toulouse combined qualifier. Lara looked like she was aware that she needed to move quickly, and it seemed to have an impact on her climbing. Although she did pretty well on the route, she never looked super comfortable. You can see that her shoulders are slightly hunched up and her moves lack some of that flow that we're used to seeing from her. So you have two climbers who are at almost opposite ends of the spectrum in their technique and strengths. To see which of them is stronger on lead routes, I'm going to focus mostly on the Briançon 2020 World Cup, where they went head to head in an amazing display of climbing. Early on, you see the difference in their styles. Laura keeps her feet high and moves through this section smoothly. Janja sort of uses her feet, but they're more of an afterthought as she pulls herself up and then secures the heel hook. Here, you can see a bit of an interesting example of where their builds both help them and hurt them. Janja is about half a foot taller than Laura, and that helps her stick this dyno statically. Laura has to jump for it, and she actually looks pretty precarious while she does it. Only a few moves later though, Janja's height works against her as she has to bunch up and use a weird knee placement on this mantle move. Laura is able to flow through the sequence much easier with the foot, and she probably saves a significant amount of energy doing so. This next one is a really small sequence, but I think it illustrates just how good Laura's footwork is. Janja goes up with the right foot first, but it's an awkward placement and she has to kick out the left foot in what looks like a pretty uncomfortable and aggressive movement. She's high on the wall at this point as well, and her hand placements aren't great, so I think it's safe to say that this one sequence took more energy than she would have wanted to spend when she's already on the head wall in a World Cup final route. Laura adds just a single extra move, but it makes all the difference. She moves her right foot up to the intermediary, takes the high left foot, and then moves her right foot higher for the semi-drop knee kind of split move thing. Played side by side, you can see how much smoother it looks, and it's reads like this that can make all the difference once you hit those top few moves on the route. Now both of them end up topping this route, but it's Laura who takes the gold on countback because she got to a higher point in the semifinals. The semi-final route, and especially Janja's fall on it, was weird. I've watched this clip a lot and I can't really seem to figure out what went wrong for Garnbret. Her and Laura go up to the hold in exactly the same way, they have the same foot placement, they go up with the same hand. Janja misses it and it costs her the gold, but I can't really fault anything in her technique. For once, it seems like her finger strength just failed her. So for the Briançon route, it really looked like Laura's style worked better. That's not the only instance that the two of them have climbed against each other though, and you can't judge too much based off of one route. In the Inzai lead final, you can see an example of where Janja's favoritism towards dynamic moves actually helps her. Pretty low on the wall, she decides that she doesn't like this weird Gaston, so she just dynos through it and secures it with the left. Laura fumbles the right hand when she's trying to secure it, and it spits her off the wall way earlier than anyone expected. Here's another example of Laura trying to stick to her guns a little too much in the Inzai semifinals. She moves pretty slowly through the lower section of the route, gets pumped out, and messes up her footwork going for the next handhold in this sequence. You can see her use this sort of inward-facing heel hook placement a lot. She does it quite often. Here's her doing it in Toulouse. I'm not really sure why she thought it was the right move here, and it ends up costing her. Janja reads the sequence right, and she's able to move higher on the route. So although Laura's footwork and her patience are her strengths, they can sometimes end up working against her. By the same token, Janja's dominance is in large part due to her insane strength and dynamism, but we've seen those qualities cost her the gold a couple of times when she gets over-reliant on them. So with all of that said, which of them is actually the better lead climber? It's razor close right now, but at this moment, I still have to give the crown to Janja. She's shown such an insane level of dominance over such a long period of time that it's difficult to say that Laura is better just based off of the one competition in Briançon. Janja is unquestionably the greatest female climber alive today, at least on the competition scene. With that being said though, Rogora poses a real threat in Tokyo. The lead climbing competition between Janja and Laura is one of the showdowns that I'm most excited for in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, and I cannot wait to see these two go head to head. Alright guys, that is everything for today. Thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, And keep your eye out for more stuff like this heading into Tokyo as I continue to make climbing analysis. As always, please leave a comment below letting me know what you thought. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.